Chapter 5. The Truth About Renza. This is the fleet's flagship, the stage battleship, Burst Squirrel, Kagaya happily said. It was a battleship shaped like an aircraft carrier that was anchored in a large, dedicated dock 200 meters long. What do you think of its flower passage? It's more than fit for a legendary godly knight like yours. Flower passage? Under this circumstance, it was a very uncomfortable phrase that Sena never expected to hear. We are going to take the armored cavalry out on the ship, so I have to show you how to battle in a one-on-one fight. Sauron explained. Me? We must teach you how to fight with honor, and since you have a godly knight, naturally we have to teach you how to enter into battle from the flower passage. But... Sena, why are you so confused? Ha ha. Sauron, I'm sure he's not that confused. There are many stories where people use humanoid weapons on the Earth where Sena is from. What? I heard that the Earth was an early-stage civilization. Do they have humanoid weapons? No, it's all fiction. Actually, I have some tapes. I'll show you some time. Oh! That sounds interesting. Wait a second. It's true that we have mecha shows, but they don't do anything with flower passages. How do they fight in Earth fiction then? Usually, enemies appear and begin attacking the city and rampaging through the streets, and then the pilots get in a huge mech and march in to fight them. I see. Sena looked at the ship again, mostly to look away from Sauron. It was an ordinary battleship except it had a deck with a big runway. It looked like an aircraft carrier. Of course, the ethnic designs adorning the outside was very gaudy compared to ships in the Galactic Federation. Compared to Jurian ships, the Kamadake or Ryuoki, though it wasn't that out of place. Captain Kagaya, what other ships are there? Oh, sorry. I got distracted by stories of humanoid weapons. For now, our fleet is pretty limited. You have the godly knight Zenvi. So there isn't much need. Let's go up to the bridge. The captain Sajiu is there. She should be able to explain more. The bridge was a normal shape. Here, too, a large case of a tropical botanicals was set up, and there was also a tank for an aquatic race operator. It wasn't that different from the bridge of a royal ship. However, it didn't feel like a battleship, rather it felt like the lounge of a passenger ship. Well, it's about time you got here. Sajiu, who was in the captain's seat, turned to face Kagaya when they came in. The chest of her uniform was opened and messy. Sena wasn't sure if this was a separate body or her normal body, but there was a tree intertwined with the tropical plants in the large case behind here, and it was planted in a mossy medium as if it had been rooted there permanently. Weren't you in a different plant earlier? Oh, Saji's body moves through from the roots. Saji's tree pulled its roots out of the ground and started walking like a spider. Hee, I can move on the ground and swim underwater. The only thing I can't do is fly in the sky. Wow, that's neat. Saji, don't keep us waiting. Sauron's signal caused the window of the bridge to become blurred, and the color of the lights changed instantaneously. Don't worry, I've just put up a barrier, that's all. Sauron moved closer to Sena to put him at ease. But for Sena that was counterproductive. Commander Sauron, please step away from Sena and come help me? Sagia turned red. Oh, yes, be there in a bit. Sauron moved away from Sena, but didn't seem to understand the real meaning of what Sagia said. I called you all here because I can't explain this very complicated story safely in the HQ. Although the Cow Nation is leading this experimental unit, auditors are coming in from other sources, and I don't want to spread this information too far. Sauron stared at Sena with a serious look. It was with glowing eyes that seemed to be making a confession of love. Of course, it was certain that Sauron didn't feel that way. It was no doubt just his natural look. Even so, Sena's heart beat unexpectedly. Don't. He's a dude. Quit it. Fortunately, the crisis was avoided by the amazingly strong spiritual power of Sena and the decisive fact that the other party was a man. But he completely forgot the issue of Maya trying to get him to have an affair and that he should not be cheating in the first place. So, Sauron's power was still terribly strong. However, in the next moment he forgot about it completely. Sena was confused by the sight in front of him. Sauron, Kagaya, Sajiu, and even Hakoran bowed deeply in front of Sena. First, I must apologize to you, Sena. It is an apology from my heart. I'm sorry for having brought you here, Hakuren said. What? It may be frustrating, but I will make it up to you when everything is over. But for now, please, I need your cooperation. Seina and Hakuren were friends, and he wasn't upset, but it was also true that she had disturbed his wedding ceremony. Such troubles were the norm for Seina. Nevertheless, as a formality since she represented her nation, she needed to formally apologize to him. Okay, I accept your apology. As a member of the GP, I see the urgency in your circumstances, and I agree this was an emergency. I appreciate you saying that. Seina moved to a large space surrounded by a huge plant case. So, what exactly is up with this empty area? It's for the royal tree. Do the people of Renza understand that the trees have emotions and are related to one another? Kagaya shook her head a bit, confused. What do you mean? No, these trees are in the lower generations. They have never shown any signs of sentience in the first place, so there are many people who don't know that the trees are advanced life forms. Those of us from the founders' families had a feeling that they deserved our respect, but they were still considered just parts of the ship. So, they're just treated as weapons here. I was worried about that. Currently, most ships are 6th generation and lower, so most are just treated as low-ranked ship parts. It's an embarrassing story. We actually became Sito's officers because we didn't know. Until we actually met Mikagami-san and other trees, we didn't know they were sentient. That's a big part of why we went there to get them. I see. You just figured they had really powerful ships. In other words, you want to know how our attitudes towards the trees differ from yours. Yes, Commander Sauren. I think that might be the biggest difficulty for him. Hakuren looked at Sauren. Jurai thinks of the trees as sisters, family even. Do you feel that way too, Seina? Yes. That is, Seina got confused about how to talk about ZNV. Please give a detailed statement to Commander Sauren. Okay. ZNV is age-fixed for some odd reason and has shown some odd abilities. I do not know if it is a result of that or not, but it is somewhat different from other trees. The first thing to know about the trees is that they hate fighting, and they are sensitive to other people's deaths. Of course, they hate when it's one of their sister trees too. But ZNV doesn't seem to be hesitant to fight in such a fatal manner, and that may be the reason why its age was fixed. That was the opinion of the investigators. Youthful beings are sometimes capable of being incredibly cruel, like human children. Normally, the trees are pure, calm, and gentle beings. They don't like fighting, but they are willing to do whatever it takes to deter it. So do you not want to use ZNV in battle? I understand that I have more than enough power to fight. I will also exercise that power, if necessary, but I won't use it without limits. I'll try everything I can not to. Many of the people of the Cow Nation have a strong empathy with nature, so even though they are subordinates, there are many people who are sensitive to the tree's wishes and respectful of their existence. This time in particular, though, we had to carefully select highly skilled staff from whom that wouldn't be a problem. I can feel a proper will, even in the lower generations, especially as a plant-type life form. I know what that power is like. I'm sure Kagaya somehow feels it too. I think that all the cavalry of the cow feels it more or less, but still, I will not hesitate to destroy the opponent's armored knights. However, it is actually rare in a battle to completely destroy the opponent. We revere them here. That is practically sacrilegious. But there are many people who disregard that in battle. Pirates only view them as tools. But for them, it's an expensive part, so they take good care of them still in a way. Is that so? For a moment, Seina remembered Fuku and her clones being used as experimental materials on Terran's base, but he immediately shook his head to drive out that memory. I don't care. I want you to treat ZINV properly whenever I'm involved. Yes, of course. But sometimes, when a unit is captured, some of the pilots are forced to escape by themselves. In that case, they usually self-destruct to keep them from getting their units, and in some cases, it will even destroy the enemy's units. So please know there might be a circumstance like that. Does that really happen? In a sense, it was the most shocking thing he heard since coming to Renza. Even knowing they are sentient, that is still the best course of action. We don't want them to fall into the hands of others. To begin with, we keep information about trees after the 4th generation secret, and we keep the technology used in the Knights secret as well. We even have multiple companies who make the parts for the core to keep it secret. No one but the heads of the 5 houses know how they're made. Sena naturally looked to Jaikirin. Unfortunately, I'm still not officially queen. How do they do maintenance on them? Although the body maintenance can be done here, the core part requires maintenance from a specialized manufacturer from a major family house once every several years. Are there a lot of companies that produce the cores? There are only 5 manufacturers. Then how are the pirates getting them? We don't know, but it's impossible for them to get the needed info from each company. But trees below the 10th generation are very loosely regulated, so it could be that they're using those in combination with an ordinary engine. We are also currently developing technology to use those trees as booster parts. We've been slowly rolling them out. So, you mean it's not just the 5 companies handling them anymore? That is correct. How are you doing maintenance on Xianvi-sama's unit? We may be able to fix it up for you. I will not let you or these manufacturers mess with Xianvi, it's too risky. If you let them have it, they will give you many excuses and never return it. Yes, I know. Sauren nodded deeply and turned towards Sena. So, what do you think of the situation now that you know about it? To be honest, I'm surprised. This is not a very pleasant story to hear, but I must thank you for telling me. There is not much time to make a decision, but you still have till tomorrow to think about it. Well, I guess I'll help. Sena responded promptly to Sauren. What? As a member of the GP, I won't turn down those who need my help, and if the trees are being used like that, I think that I may be the only one who can do something, so please let me help you. Sena did not care whether Arisido, Mikami, or Hakuren wanted him to do this. He was doing this because he wanted to do this. Thank you, Sena. Everyone bowed again. Because you have decided to participate, I'd like to talk about the matter of compensation. What? Like a reward. Sena looked at Sauren surprised. Of course, you will be working here, so you'll get a reward. I heard from the GP that this is being treated as a business trip, so my salary is already being paid. But we don't have a partnership with the Galactic Federation, so there's no choice but to treat it differently from the salary paid from there. We don't know what kind of activities you will do and how they will be treated as part of the mission. However, the compensation you will be paid here will be from us. That way there are no tax problems under the laws of Renza, Sauren said, looking at Hakuren. Since there's no diplomatic relationship between the Renza Federation and the Galactic Federation, there are no laws related to taxation. While the GP has deemed this as being treated as a business trip for Sena, that doesn't cover how tax matters will be handled here. Our accountants are very eager to get this matter settled as soon as possible. Sauren looked at Hakuren's group with a troubled face. Looking at them, Sena remembered the face of Ringo. Even in this world, the accounting officials are no joke. But there was an unexpected blind spot, since your salary has been managed by Kiriko-sama up till now, Hakuren said. I don't want to have to handle such things on my own, it would only cause trouble. Well, I imagine that's true. However, what Commander Sauren is trying to say is we have no choice but to give the reward to you, Sena, but in your case it's dangerous to have a lot of money due to your probability bias, and there are other reasons too. So, it's not just a matter of money? We just don't want you to fall victim to fraud, or anything else that might happen. You're known for causing some very odd phenomena. So, you're going to need someone to manage your money for you. Kiriko can't do it as she is a member of the Galactic Federation, and, well, we can't do it either. Remaining neutral becomes a problem if we do, so we think it's best a third party does it, don't you? Okay, then let's use Recepshi's service. Surely that will fix the problem. Sauren launched Recepshi's business directory. Oh, it looks like we are working with a financial organization called the MMD on the Galactic Federation side. The MMD. Do you know about them? All we know about this is limited to our activities within Recepshi. Should we leave it to them? Yes, that would be preferable, Hakuren said as she looked to Sena for confirmation. The MMD was originally a philosopher's asset management organization. Even now it was the most reliable bank within the Galactic Federation. Sena had no objections. Okay then, that brings us to the next matter. What about the specific amount of compensation? As this is an experimental unit, there is not much we can do about the pay rate. You will be paid the same as a member of the Naval Cavalry. A displayed number was converted to what it would be worth in the Galactic Federation and presented to Sena. It was about 100 times the base salary Sena made as a GP crew member. This amount is very small for a master of a godly knight. No, well, what Sena is trying to say is for now he will be fine with being paid that amount, but it is too low and will have to be adjusted later. Also, he wants to be treated like an operator of a heavenly knight. Hakuren, who realized that Sena was trying to say it was too high, prevented him from doing so. Oh, yes, that is what I meant. Other than that, it's fine for now. Sena felt confused, but he nodded towards Sauren. Well, no matter how much money it was, he had no use for it. It would just go into his savings. I'm sure Kariko will freak out when she sees that when it goes to the MMD. Even though she was no longer handling the purse strings directly, there was no doubt she would be amazed by such an amount. Thank you, so we will delegate monetary affairs to the administrative department of Reception. Please fill out and submit to us the required documents later, and we'll make sure you are provided the same working conditions as a normal Heavenly Knight operator. Sena, I've already confirmed that there's no problem complying with the employment contract with the GP, but do not hesitate to contact me if you have any questions about it or experience any inconveniences. We apologize for the trouble. When this experimental unit is officially made a full-scale operation, we'll review the terms and conditions again and renegotiate the contract. I think when that time comes, we will be able to give you more. I apologize for the inconvenience for now. Understood. Now that the matter was settled, the tension in the room relaxed. Well then, let's talk about what we will do moving forward. Captain Saju, if you please. Sajiya nodded to Sauren and lifted the barrier around the bridge. Sajiya moved to the captain's seat. Sena and the others followed. First of all, we will go over the placement of each member on the flagship bridge. The front left is Sena, and the right is Kagaya. The high-level operator's seat in front is my favorite position, but I'll leave it to Hakuren's group. Sena's seat, if activated by biometric authentication, will also be able to move up to the first level. At this time, are there any objections? No. I think that will be fine. Sena sat in his seat. It seemed that the others had already sat and started up their terminals. Sena quickly activated his terminal by registering his biometrics. A registration mistake happened twice, but it was going well. By the way, Sauren stood next to Sena because he had no seat. Well then, first off, Sajiya launched a monitor that showed the ship and the others. There were 13 ships in all. This is the capacity of our fleet. We will mainly be using the flagship. We have 2 escort ships, 2 cruisers for carrying the armored cavalry into battle, for destroyers, a reconnaissance destroyer, a machinery ship, and 2 goods transport ships. In any case, this fleet alone makes it possible for long-term non-port operation. It hardly compares to the Kamadake. Even so, it's more than enough for ordinary mission work. In a worst-case scenario, it should be enough to buy you time to withdraw if you encounter an enemy and your unit is destroyed. As long as you and Hakuren's team are safe, we can rebuild. I hope that will never happen. The basic battle method is more or less what you're used to. Just replace the ships with humanoid weapons, and that the fights are more or less one-on-one. There are several theories about how that battle method emerged, but mostly it's thought that it's a remnant from the era of the prehistoric civilization. The founders were greatly influenced by that after they found the original 5. If the battle is ultimately decided by a one-on-one fight, then isn't everything as good as settled as long as I have ZNV? Well, that was the biggest reason why they had such overwhelming power, but I agree with you. We shouldn't make ZNV fight unless absolutely necessary. I agree. Of course, even the most basic of current Heavenly Knights are able to oppose a small fleet on their own, depending on the operator. With someone skilled like Kagaya, we can easily win without resorting to using it. So specifically, how do you engage in a battle? It depends on the scale of the battle. The location is decided by the commander who leads the battle, and they appoint a Heavenly Knight operator, so you will need to use your best judgment depending on the chosen battlefield. Are you sure that's a good idea to place me in charge of that? You'll be fine. There's hardly ever any large-scale battles, and at worst we lose our cargo from losing the battle. Are you sure? I've heard though that recently there have been incidents of pirates with humanoids of their own. Well, That's why we have you, isn't it? It shouldn't be a problem. The fights are supposed to be one-on-one, but there's the issue lately of crossover. Crossover. Well, there's going to be a lot of people who want to fight you just because you have a godly knight. But some of them might not play by the rules. We've been seeing a huge influx of foreign pirates who don't know or care to follow the rules. It's been happening more and more, but it seems like there's also a set of pirates who are very defensive about playing by the rules, so it's not without consequence, but nevertheless, some refuse to do it. There's also the issue of fraud lately. Fraud? There have been times lately when we've shown up only to fight a humanoid actually made of several of them fused together. They seem to be using an expensive KZM bioalloy to do it. Also, some of the units are sometimes equipped with magic users. What? I understand your reaction, but I assure you it's really not as big a deal as you think. Really? But you said magic? Well, it's probably not what you're thinking of, Sana-sama. See that plant we have in here? What about it? He had almost completely forgotten about them. It's a special plant called a magic tree that generates and releases magic. The enemy ships can use it to have their ship move instantaneously from one point to another. But it's still magic, right? Can anyone use it? Sana was excited like a small child. His eyes sparkled. Only if you have a magic organ in your body. Those who can use large amounts of magic are rare, and magic is incompatible with science and technology and those kinds of civilizations in the first place. For some reason, in civilized areas where those things develop, it usually isn't found. I'm surprised you are familiar with the concept. Maybe it's because you are from an early civilization zone. Wait, why doesn't it grow in more advanced civilized areas? We don't know. We think it's to avoid it causing friction in advanced civilizations that have developed. But we don't know for sure because there's a slight problem with it. Problem? When put in an artificial container like this, safe breeding is possible, and bringing it to higher civilizations is not a problem, but the magic tree will dramatically change a planet's ecosystem if it's not stored like this. Transplanting is forbidden, and sometimes it even erodes the equipment holding it. Is that so? That's too bad. Sana was a bit disappointed. But Sana, magic is kind of pointless. You can do the same things it can do much more easily with science and technology. It's not like there is really much of a demand. Oh, I guess. I've heard that magic is pretty much the same as highly advanced science and technology. It can generate fire, let you breathe in water, and heal the human body. Even if some can do that with magic, with science and technology, all people can receive those benefits far more easily. But there are also exceptions. Some magic is more convenient than technology, and that's why we cultivate the magic plant here. No matter what you say, the ability to teleport is pretty amazing. It is possible to move in an instant to places that take days by super spatial navigation. You need to use a lot of magic, and those who can do that are quite rare, and it's not like they can do it without enough magic. But we're off topic. Fighting pirates who can do that is a pain, Sagia said. Sana wanted to hear more about magic, but he knew it was pointless because he wouldn't be able to use it anyways without a magic organ. I fell victim to a fraud battle recently, and I was able to repel them, but it was an intense struggle. I barely escaped. I see. If I ever find those pirates, Kagaya clenched her fist and her skin changed color. Relax, Kagaya. Sagio tried to calm her down. I'm sorry, regardless. Seeing them fuse together was pretty cool. Enough of this, we need to see how Sana can fight before we go any further. We should have Hakurin get the simulation up and running. Kagaya and Sagia nodded.